Live.
Okay.
You can go first.
Hello everybody. We are in the Amazon, in the heart of the world.
Centro do mundo. Sí.
As you can see, the river, we've got a gorgeous view. Like, really, really
Yeah,
incredible.
we're here at the Rio Novo community, and this is the Rio Eredi here in the background. We arrived here late last night. It was super dark, but woke up to just the most gorgeous river. So, go on, let's talk about, sorry, we're a bit blown because it's been so amazing, but let's talk about yesterday.
So, yesterday was basically spent traveling to here. It was like,
oh wait, actually, we need to talk about the last 2 days, like when we met everyone as well.
Okay, so it all started on the 10th, and the 10th was he's looking at me,
sorry,
making
we've got
me
some
laugh.
more people in the background laughing at us. We've made loads of friends, basically. Anyway, come on, Ali, concentrate. Snap, ready.
So, I know he's doing the same to
just
us.
because basically they were trying to take a really nice portrait earlier and we really annoyed them, and now we're trying to make a vlog, they're annoying us too.
And trying to make us laugh.
Anyway, okay, so yeah, we met with everyone, didn't we? Everyone arrived.
That was
a crazy day.
Introducing what this whole event was going to be about, getting to know everyone. Everyone was saying like who they were, who were they representing, what organizations that they work with. There was like a big dinner and just really nice to get to know everyone.
Yeah, it was amazing, and we've got people here from so many places that we didn't really even know existed. It's incredible. So there's like top Brazilian scientists, like there's a bit of research about the flying river across the Amazon, and the scientist behind that is here. We've got young people from a load of different indigenous communities. We've got some elders and some shamans. We've got people from different NGOs, like especially ISA, which is this big one, but other NGOs who have come together to organize it.
And people have traveled like from very, very remote places, like very long journeys. Like their houses are 3 days away, like taking boats, then taking a bus,
places
and
which
taking
are
another boat.
in Brazil, but take longer to get here than us coming from the UK.
Yeah.
Because we can fly here, but they have to go through all of these different modes of transport, places that are super remote. And so it's really amazing, like here where we are at the moment is remote, but it's not as remote as those places. And so this like bringing together of the worlds in somewhere at the moment, which is kind of like a middle ground, has been really great because everyone has something to learn.
So yeah, that was the 10th, getting to know everyone. And then on the 11th, like the next day, we got up really early. We all got together in our buses and headed off like for hours and hours. I think it was we
headed 2 hours at the beginning to where we did the tree planting.
Yes, exactly. 2 hours to where we did the tree planting. This, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, well basically they've got this, I'll get the word wrong, but it's like the masca. We got the red one, I'll put it on the screen.
It means mixture,
but it means, so what they do is they take, I think we had like 20 varieties.
Over 30
varieties of seeds. And the idea was that they were laid out, I'll put loads of photos up because I took some, laid out on this big tarpaulin. And the idea is that it simulates a natural forest, and it does it in some really amazing ways. So we put them all out on the tarpaulin, and then everyone jumps in and starts mixing them together. So we shake the tarpaulin, we mix the seeds like that. And then what happens is you get this really kind of natural variance. And then there's a few things they add in. Do you want to explain about that? Because it was like in your biological area.
Well, initially I had a lot of apprehension to this activity. I literally just imagined us with a little tree and taking some pictures and look, we're compensating for our flights. And I know that notoriously a lot of these reforestation projects don't go very well, and they just are like shows for the media and for politicians. So I was very skeptical, but literally this blew my mind. So they've been developing this method for over 10 years and just working out which seeds are better, which combination of seeds, in what proportion, what ratio do you have each seed, and each individual seed has been, you know, thought after properly. There was over 2 million different seeds. And they were saying that especially they had this bean, which is like a white seed like this, and the beans were incredibly important because they would grow before everything else. They're a fast-growing species. So in case there was any like ant infestation, which often happens, they would get eaten first, so it wouldn't be the actual trees that need to be there.
And then when they break down, they create this mulch, yeah?
Exactly, yeah, which acts a bit like compost and really helps. Then they also had sunflower seeds, because sunflowers also grow much faster, and they're very good at bringing in nitrogen. And then also, which is good for replenishing the soil, and then when they die as well, they help like bring compost. And then the idea is that each seed that will grow in the place that it's best suited to.
Oh, they're saying something to us. I don't know what. But anyway, we're going to carry on.
Yeah, it's ideal, you know, like if that tree out of all the seeds grew in that particular patch, it's because it was the best location for it to grow.
We planted 2 million seeds, which will never turn into 2 million trees.
No.
But the trees which naturally will work together will spring from this mixture and from the way they're doing it. And it was really amazing. I totally agree with you. Like, we were going to offset our flights. I was apprehensive about that as a process because often that isn't done in a sustainable way. But this was amazing, and it was really, really beautiful. And then from there...
Well, just to mention, it was really interesting because this land was previously cattle farming land, and doctor that we met had bought off this land, and he's been trying to restore it.
Yeah, well, along with the ESA, that's part of the project that ESA's been doing.
And something interesting, so...
Wait, no, I'm going to stop you, because basically, really if Ali wants to talk more about this, she can make a whole video. And maybe you should, like, the scientists are still here, you can go and do an interview with them.
That's true.
That'd be really cool. Like, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, these people with these skills travel with us on this trip. So if there's something that we really find fascinating, let us know. Oh, actually you can't, there's no internet. But we'll do more research, because Ali loved this. But we can't talk about everything for 10 minutes, because there's too many things.
Yes.
So we got back on the bus, and then we drove for another 4 hours, and we ended up at this school project, which was a school for some of the local groups. It was kind of like for kids ages like 6 to 15, and we just had lunch there, so we're only there for about half an hour, but it was really nice. We even played a bit of frisbee with some of the young people. Me and Ali both play ultimate frisbee, so it was
It's a school for the kids in all the remote communities, remote rural communities.
And actually some of the kids from this community travelled there for high school, I was learning today.
Oh, okay.
Which is like 10 hours away, and they'll go there for 2 weeks, and then they'll do schooling, and then they'll come back here for 2 weeks. And they do that vice versa, and it allows them to learn both the community life and the schooling life, and they do lots of sustainable technology, kind of not what we would think, like solar panels and stuff, but sustainable technology in terms of how to live directly with the environment around here. So the community does a lot of, like, makes a lot of products, and we were learning more about that today. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So then we jumped back on the bus and we zoomed we went very slowly along very long roads.
It was the Trans-Amazonica road.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Wow. It was tiny. There was no tarmac. And it was the Trans-Amazonica.
Wow.
And
it traverses the entire Amazon.
And at one point we had to pull over because a massive lorry, which was an illegal logging lorry, was coming the other way. And you could see these huge old growth trees on there, and it was really tragic to see that come by. I think I got some footage. If I didn't get some footage, I'll
corpses.
Get some off someone else.
Really?
Yeah.
They're just carrying.
When you're here and you see like how the community interacts with the forest, it's amazing. We might be losing the light, but hopefully we'll just persevere.
Yeah, so
and then we got here, didn't we, in the evening? And it was gorgeous.
There was an interesting bit during the road. I think something worth noting. Like, you look around and everything just looks beautiful. It's very green, and you're like, wow, there's a lot of nature here. Yeah. But actually, it is very degraded land. It is deforested land. Like, seeing that compared to seeing this right here, you realize like the massive changes that it has, like the transformation really of that land, which has been cut down for cattle ranching.
Or just for deforestation.
Yeah, there was this like bit of the road where one of the like community, he pointed out like, this is our territory on the left-hand side, and this is not ours. And you could see that on the left-hand side it's like intact
pure rainforest,
and on the right-hand side it's just fields, almost like a field in, you know, England.
Yeah, almost like fields at home. And it's interesting actually, coming from England, which is like hugely manicured. We've lost over like 95% of our primeval forest. It's funny because you see these cattle fields and they look wild. You know, you're like, where's the National Trust cutting that grass? But actually, when you see it compared to the rainforest, you know, it's dead. It's desolate.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of visceral lack of life in comparison is really hard. And you could actually see just on the bus, like when we were going through those territories, like a number of the indigenous or the riverine communities that were traveling with us, like it hurts them. Like it's violent against them and their personhood and what they represent and how they live their lives. And they're, you know, it's really hard even to ask them to talk about it.
Yeah,
you know, they want to talk about it
but
because they know that's where the change will come, and they need to share this with people like us who can hopefully help bring about change and who have different views on it. But yeah, it's just really hard to have to go into that space. Yeah, but then But then we arrived just down here at the port, Port Maribel, which is actually is a port where lots of illegal logging goes through, and it's difficult. And we were greeted by the kind of chief woman there, and it was great. And then they sent us on our way with a blessing up the river. So we jumped straight in the boats, came up the river, and that's when we arrived here last night.
To the Rio Novo community.
To the Rio Novo community, which is one that works a lot with ISA and some of these organizations.
Yeah, they are ribereños, which means like river dwellers, river people. So they're not like yet necessarily like an indigenous ethnic group. They're just people who settled here back like 200, 300 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think you can even see like, obviously there's a lot of like indigenous people, but there's a bit of a mix. Like,
and for a while, and they used to fight as well.
Yeah. So the ribereños and the indigenous communities would historically be fighting against each other, but with the threat of this big common enemy,
then there's been a huge process of coming together. And this is another example of that, and it's really beautiful. And then we're going to speed up because the light is going. There's like a storm moving in back here. I don't know if you can see it at all on the camera, but we're going to zoom in case we get rained on. And so then, so then this morning we got up nice and early. The sun, we're sleeping in hammocks. The sun rose kind of like 6 o'clock, and up we got. And then we split into two groups, and there were two activities. One was paddling up the river in old canoes to visit where they harvest the castaña nut, which is, you guys will know as the Brazil nut.
Yeah.
And we
it's literally everywhere. Like,
it is
all
everywhere.
of the foods are like rice with Brazil nuts.
Tapioca with Brazil nuts,
everything.
And so we kind of paddled up for about an hour and a half. I'll put a load of photos up. It was really beautiful. Like the river has all these like rocky areas in it where it goes quite shallow, and sometimes the boat even runs aground and you have to like do a big bum wiggle. But it was absolutely gorgeous. And then we got into the forest, and they showed us some of the like technologies that they use when they're in the forest, and they talked about. Well, you were with them a bit more than me. Do you want to say what they were talking about?
I think it was really interesting, but also quite hard hitting. So basically, they travel there to harvest the the castañas.
Yeah.
And Aziz, who is like one of the leaders of these communities, he was saying that when he was a child, there would be annual harvests of castañas every single year. It was reliable, but now, because of climate change, rains are more irregular. They don't come when they're supposed to. The river level is much lower. There's more droughts, and the fires that are going on somewhere else, the smoke itself
disturbs the harvest.
The harvest. He mentioned it. The way he talked about it, it's so different. He's like a human being. The tree is like a human being. It's a person, and they live in that community, and they're strong because they're in that community. When something else goes wrong with another tree, like something else changes, he feels it as well, and he's affected by it the same way that you will be affected if your sister, your mother, or someone that you hold close to your heart has suffered. And
so there's just lightning in the background.
I've had a thick drop.
A bit worried.
But it's just a completely different way of seeing nature, which I think it's really like in this.
Like they are
little
nature.
detail.
That's the thing.
Well, we all of us.
Yeah.
We are nature,
But
and
that's
it is
the thing that we've
separation.
forgotten, and that's so much of this European ideology, this one of the colonialism spread around the world, this one of separation from nature, where we chase like our thoughts and we leave our bodies behind, because you know the idea is that if we chase our thoughts we can elevate ourselves and become, you know, professors or whatever, or you know, in a religious context it's that understanding that the more we, you know, think or understand or are like godly in our thoughts, then we can ascend to heaven, and our body will be left behind. It doesn't matter, it's part of nature. And this dualism, this like split is so powerful, and it's like such a part of why our system is destroying nature, and it's not. It doesn't really exist here, or it exists here in afterthoughts or shadows, and it means that the way they live with nature is so different, especially for the indigenous communities. Like they're so strong, like the spirit. And we did loads of singing in the forest, which was really like totally improvised, and one of the old guys like started it, and it was just really beautiful to have people from all these different communities singing songs together, and they weren't serious songs, they were fun songs.
Same, like it wasn't the indigenous community. Like,
no,
songs,
it was just
it's brought together people from all over Brazil. Brazil is a huge country. I think it's like
it's basically the size of Europe.
Yeah, and they just got this like empty coconut shells and just started singing. It was really nice. I think the second part of the castaña harvesting.
Yeah.
Getting back to that, they were explaining to us the tools that they used to get the I can't remember the name for the whole, like it's almost like a coconut. It's like a coconut shaped, and then you break it in half, and that is where the castañas are inside.
Okay.
So it was just incredible how. Oh my God, there's thunder.
Yeah. It's probably turned into a podcast by this point.
Yes. Anyways, they just grabbed this stick that he just went, oh look, grab the stick, and then with his machete he like cut across transversely.
Transected.
Yeah. To almost make this kind of fork like this.
Yeah.
And then he put a vine around it to hold it together. Like, I'm just awful at describing this kind of thing.
Yeah, this is very detailed.
Imagine it, but it was just incredible how literally.
Well, it's a technology, isn't it?
Minutes.
It's like a technology, it's a knowledge, it's like a whole lifetime's worth of skill and expertise.
Yeah, and they just do it because that way they don't, you know, the coconut, let's say the castañas, they are on the ground and there's a lot of leaves on the ground, and there could be snakes, there could be poisonous insects. So they have developed this, you know, tool to avoid that risk. Yeah. And therefore they don't have to put their hands in there, and then they carry this basket on their back, and then they just throw it behind it, so they don't hurt their back either. Yeah. They're not having
it's
to
just like
crouch.
it's generations of technology. That's the thing, and it's something that we've been taught to think of as primitive or uneducated or you know, worthless, but it's beautiful. And then what we had coming back to the village this afternoon was we had this kind of like merging of the worlds with the modern technology. Definitely. Where they're using machinery here, which they've developed themselves based on technology other places, and it's been a process of about 10 years where they've started extracting the oil from
the castañas
the castañas. They dry them and sell them like the Brazil nuts we'd know at home. So, and then there's another nut called the babaçu. The price?
Do you see? It's like for 8 kilos of castañas, it's like 20 to 30 reales.
Which is like £4 to £6 for 8 kilos.
For 8 kilos.
And we imagine how much we pay for them in Europe. And who makes all that money? It's the middlemen, you know. It's these businesses that do the exporting. Yeah. But they've also got this other nut called the babaçu, and it's really oil rich. So what they're doing here is they're doing this process of they heat it to get the oil to rise out, and then they mash it, and then they squeeze through, and the oil comes, and it's a really beautiful process. And there's these stages of drying and other stuff.
The babaçu, just to like so that you guys can get an idea, it's like the coconut of the rainforest. Yeah. Literally, even the flavor is
it's so much like
similar.
Coconut.
It's crazy.
And then they export it as I think it's mainly used as a beauty product. It's used for people's hair, people's skin. Yeah. And they've started this like very, very sustainable industry.
They use it a lot for cooking.
Oh, do they? And well, that's the thing. So what they do is they make the products for here, and then the surplus can often be used and be sold to people in other places. So what they use here for cooking, when they have surplus, they can sell it, and fashion boutiques in Sao Paulo can use it as a super sustainable way of doing fashion products and beauty products. And it's that way in which technology is merging with like this life based in the Amazon with nature to allow them to continue living in that way. And the work of some of the groups is really beautiful, and it's a very different use of technology than we see in, you know, in the West.
Yeah, I mean, they said the challenges and what they want to demonstrate to people, like to us here, is that you can make a living sustainably with the forest.
And when they mean sustainably, they really mean sustainably.
Yeah, definitely. No.
They mean actually making the forest like more healthy. They mean replenishment, regeneration, everything we talk about in Extinction Rebellion with the regenerative culture.
Yes. Also, I'm standing up because the storm is getting closer.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go. You might actually be able to see the lightning in the back of some of the shots.
Although not our faces.
But yeah, so that's pretty much what we've done over the last 3 days. It's been super hectic. Hopefully I'll put loads of photos and videos in this so that it'll help explain things.
Yeah.
There's some amazing young people in the village, like this cute little kitty, who won't tell us his name. Tu nomo? Si? No. Hey. ¿Está bien? Si. Bit of a hero. But we're going to run away from the storm now. Ali, we're still being videoed.
But I don't think people can see us.
Well, yeah, but you don't know that.
Okay.
So, like, we've got to end the video somehow. You can't just walk off. Hey, you are spiking me with a spiky thing. So if you did stay to the end here and you managed to get through further than Alejandra seems to have, then thank you so much. We got to go.